Hi friends, I just wanted to do a little video about when you're uh, shutting down your service to Spectrum. So I haven't really done this in like just closed off telephone service in a long time. I've just been moving my service. And so with Spectrum, if you watch my other videos, they don't seem to update the address or remove the address. So they're always confused which address my service is at. Even though I give them my new account number, like they didn't update my old web information, so they were getting the websites confused. I had active addresses, active website stuff. And of course, when you're calling in, they're asking you what your address is, what your account number is, what the security code is, spell your name, and just this whole like grueling process when you're just trying to fix something. Every time they're asking this. So I've just found it really frustrating to deal with Spectrum, and so I was just really happy. I'm gonna close down my service, and then I realized, I was hoping that it would be prorated, and I made the mistake. I'm sorry, Spectrum. I made a mistake of shutting down my service before I was done, before I was ready, especially since I knew I was going to lose 3 weeks of internet service when I still could use it before I left. So I made the mistake of shutting down the service. And then it took like maybe 10 phone calls, hours waiting for it to be fixed. And so what happened is, so I had made the mistake of shutting down the service, and I wasn't aware it was going to shut down like right that moment when I was talking to the lady on the phone. So it would have been helpful if she said, if she was like, "Are you sure you want to shut this off? Because it's going to go off now." It's like the next 30 seconds, because I use the internet for my telephone, because telephone companies allow telephone marketers to harass you. I feel like they're in cahoots somehow. Anyway, so right in the middle of the call where they were shutting down the service, the call dropped because I was talking to her on the internet. So had I known that it was going to shut off the very call, I would have waited, and I would have just taken a little time. Now, Spectrum probably wants everybody to just be up to the, know everything and understand everything before they've been informed, but that's just not how it is. You kind of figure it out as you go. So so I called back, and I said that the person shut it off before I was ready. Even though I had given my permission, I didn't realize what I was saying. I didn't realize she was just going to flip the switch right as we were talking on the phone. And then, and maybe that was my mistake. Or maybe Spectrum could be like, "Are you sure?" Because they're the expert in the process, not the customer. So I called back and said, "Hey, I shut it off too soon." Like I said that the lady shut it off before I was ready, and it was my mistake for not asking questions. But it's like, you don't know what to ask until the situation occurs, and then you realize you made a mistake, and that other person could have like maybe guided you, because it seemed like that lady knew that it was going to be a big deal to shut it off. So the next guy, he was like, "Oh, we'll have to escalate it." Then I talked to another person, this lady, and she was like, "Oh, this order had to be put in." And then I talked to another person who was like, "Oh, they didn't finish the order." And this was like some high level person I was finally talking to. So I kept checking to see if my internet was working, still wouldn't work. So today I called, and I I just said, "Hey, can you look up the thing?" Because I didn't know how to describe the problem properly. And so they were like, "Oh, you need to oh, actually, no, this was yesterday I called. And so I can't remember everybody I talked to, but I talked to 3 people yesterday. And then finally somebody said, "We need to put an order. Well, we need to check to see if your router's okay." and we'll have to take a tech. We'll send a tech out there if the router's not working. So they sent a tech, and the tech got me a brand new router, and what it was the whole problem was that I had just scheduled a cancellation, and it revised my cancellation date from Friday to today to the end of the month. And because I have had a cancellation, they didn't have the ability, or they won't turn it on if you have a pending cancellation. So maybe it's some very obscure issue or something like that, but it was really frustrating because I had to spend, I don't know how many hours in trying to talk to people and get them up to speed on my situation, and that, and it was basically like some weird, thing about like that there was a pending ending of the termination of the service that was just a problem. Like, because I was planning on terminating the service, they wouldn't. I was unable to activate my service because there was just a pending cancellation in the queue. And I don't know if everybody just didn't know this little quirky thing. The tech support guy that had to come here to change out my router, like, he didn't know about this. And it's inconvenient, and that's pretty much what I found Spectrum as a large business. It's just really inconvenient, and maybe it's just the nature of big companies now, but it's just been so frustrating, and it just takes like seconds off of your life, just not being heard, and seemingly expert people passing you along and leading you on, basically, where they're not even doing what needed to be done. And just it happened, I think there's I talked to 8 people by the time I got a resolution of my problem, maybe 7 people, but that's a lot of time being on hold, making calls, listening to the annoying jingles, and I'm just eager to just not have to deal with an internet company. I must say, the web has some wonderful things, but there are some things that are just not just interfering with the quality of life. So anyways, if you ever do have a problem with your modem and you're planning on leaving, canceling your service, Spectrum, you have to ask a million people, and one person will know that you can't have a cancellation of your service, of your account. If you want your modem to work and it happens to go on the fritz, you need to remove the cancellation of service. And I don't know if that's a new thing. I don't know if that's just to be annoying to me. Maybe it's just something they do here in this locale, but it's just really so aggravating. And the thing is, if you look at my older videos, I have my feedback about other telephone companies. I must say I haven't liked AT&T or Verizon either, and it's I don't know. Is it really so hard to deliver good product? If do you have to make it so annoying to be on hold? Do we have to listen to your annoying loop of advertising? Do you have to interrogate everybody? And it's weird because sometimes when I every once in a while I ask, I'm more prepared and I have my code, the account number, and sometimes they don't need it. So it's just, It's like so annoying. Does the customer experience have to be so aggravating? And I think it does. I think it is at some sort of like try to distress the customer. I think it is sort of almost like a war. There's a war against corporations against their customers. It's my experience because it's just like there's just no reason for things to be so annoying and difficult and confusing. I mean, I've been an entry level worker, and um, I know I took care of the people that were my customers pretty well. I mean, um, like when I did market research, where we were paying people to give their feedback, so we were really doing customer service. And if you're providing internet service, it seems like that's a valuable customer because it's like it's a ongoing process. So anyways, thanks for watching and God bless.